Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Good Anime Palette Podcast. This is episode 4. I am your co-host, Jason, and I'm joined, as always, as usual, with Will. What's up, man?
Howdy. Not bad. Could be better.
I mean, we had to restart, didn't we? A little bit of inside baseball.
We actually had to, redo the recording because 2 minutes in, there was actually some pipe works that were happening in our office.
And it was shaking. It was literally shaking.
The floorboards at the bottom were actually vibrating, and you could actually hear the recording through the headphones. So we decided, let's just start us over again. So howdy doody.
And here we are. So we talked a lot. We talked like 2 minutes. I guess listeners will never know what we talked about during those 2 minutes, right?
Well, I mean, we can do a recap now.
Nah. Fuck
Recap
that.
episode?
No. Recap of 2 minutes?
Hey, man, like, OVAs aren't that long nowadays. You can do, like, a 4-minute OVA and still have a recap episode for it.
Okay. No, let's not. Let's just go straight into what we've been watching.
Wow. So
reading.
You're just going to skip the fact that, I had to do a COVID test, which came negative.
Yes.
You have to skip the fact that I just got an ear infection.
Yes.
Which is not that bad, really, actually. It's external, so I just need to do some ear
It
drops.
is bilateral, though, so both sides.
Yeah, but it's still fine. It doesn't hurt. Just a little bit discomfort.
Hey, I'm skipping the fact that I did my first vaccine.
Yeah, how you feeling?
Shot. I'm feeling fine.
Are you slowly turning into a
monster?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or have you always been a monster?
Well, I guess a fluffy monster can exist, right? I'm giving you why. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Monsters can be fluffy.
Actually, to be fair, I have been reading Kaiju number 8 or Monster number 8, and monsters are people too.
Yeah, exactly. Pacific Rim, right? Actually, wait. Never mind. Forget what I just said. So, Will, what have you been watching?
What do you want to do first? Do you want to talk about the manga or the anime first?
Okay, so the reason why I asked Will this question first is because I actually read and watched a shit ton of stuff. But we have decided to talk about it in the main discussion topic because it's relevant. I did an absurd amount of research. It's like Overkill is like my middle name.
It kind of blends in well with the fact that you are a research student as well. So it just comes naturally, right?
Yeah.
Like needing to make sure
I just need to know, man. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is half the battle.
Yeah, you have an abstract, and then you base your research off of the abstract, and you go about getting your sources.
No. It's the other way around. You write your abstract last.
Really?
Yes.
Have I been doing this all wrong the whole time?
Yes, you have.
Maybe this is
that's why you're not a researcher, and I am a researcher student. Yep.
Yeah, so that's why you're pursuing a master's of science. I only have a master of arts. So
I'm not trying to throw shade on that. But sure. If you want to throw shade on yourself.
One is obviously the master race, right? Research-based programs over taught-based programs.
Hey, my other degree was taught-based, okay? So
wait, your other degree was an MA?
No, but it was a taught course. Okay, we're detracting. Anyways.
I'm just saying that Jason's smart as fuck.
No, but yes. Anyways,
you Jasons out there, can you confirm?
I did a lot of research into the main discussion topic, which we will get into, a lot of anime and a lot of manga, but Will and I watched Ghost in the Shell 4K.
Yeah, we mentioned that they were doing a short film release in Hong Kong, 4K remastered. So we watched it. We watched it 2 weeks ago or last week.
The 11th.
Yeah, so just under 2 weeks ago.
And what do you think, Will? I love Ghost in the Shell, the original movie. It was my number one anime movie of all time.
Until you watched Demon Slayer?
Nope.
Kimetsu no Yaiba Mugen Train?
No. Can you actually legitimately guess which would be my number one movie?
Your number?
Currently?
It's definitely not your name.
No. I don't really think that movie is all that great. It was good, but it wasn't like...
Is it the Pancreas one?
No. That's even... I liked...
A silent voice?
Yes, it is a silent voice.
Okay.
A silent voice dethroned Ghost in the Shell. But Ghost in the Shell was number one for like the longest time. What do you think, Will?
My favorite anime movie of all time is Redline, if that says anything.
Redline is amazing.
But if you're talking about specifically...
also, by the way, I'm assuming like Studio Ghibli movies are not I mean, Studio Ghibli movies for me are also like high up there.
Oh, those are not anime movies. Those are Ghibli movies.
Oh yeah, they're in their own category.
There's a very specific category for any Ghibli movie. Well, actually, no, any Miyazaki one, not the one done by his son. Unfortunately, he still has a lot to learn, according to.
Isn't it? What's the last name? Miyazaki, right?
Yeah.
Isn't the son also called Miyazaki? I'm just saying.
Well, that's why I said not the son. Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Right. Do you remember? You watch that clip where he's watching his son's first directorial debut, and then he walks out halfway through, and then just goes to the lounge of the cinema and just cracks open a cigarette, and he says, "He has so much to learn. He's not ready."
Wait, you're lying, right? Like,
no, this is actually true. He actually just decided to leave mid-shoot, and then decides that
not mid-shoot, mid-movie.
Mid-movie. And then he's just like sitting in like the lounge of the cinema, just cracking open a cigarette.
God. So it was like Asian parents, like, I'm disappointed in you.
Like, why else do you think like he's out of
fucked up?
He came out of retirement, man.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, he did.
He came out of retirement, dude. The man is he's 80 years old. He's 80, and he's like, my son is not good enough to be a standalone director. I have to come back and save Ghibli.
So, what do you think of Ghost in the Shell, Will?
Yeah. So I actually started off by watching Standalone Complex, the TV show, both seasons of it,
which came out way later because
Yeah,
I think the movie came out in 1995,
and then the Standalone Complex came out 2005, 2004, 2005. It's actually quite old still, but relative to the movie itself, it came out almost a decade afterwards. So I really liked Standalone Complex. I liked the whole action thriller sort of perspective on it.
I put Standalone Complex in very high regard. I mean, top 10, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's top 20 for me. I have a lot that's in my top 10, and it's really hard to shift things out, but that's why we're also not doing an episode on it, because it can be a very touchy subject for the both of us, and I don't want to break friendships over this. So
I do know what you're referencing.
But we will talk about the movie. I enjoyed it.
I fell asleep for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long movie. It was a long 80 minutes.
It was 2 hours.
No, it was 80 minutes. It's not 2 hours. It was a very short movie.
Okay, sure, okay.
Wait, how do I know this? Not you. Come on.
Okay. Anyways, Will, what do you think of the movie?
It's okay. It's definitely very, very different from the TV show. I mean, like, I can't really say it that way because of the fact that the movie did come out first. So it's definitely more sort of like psychological, philosophical, more talking about like the meaning of, being human in a new digital world, digital age. The idea of identity as well. All stuff that for me, okay.
I mean, it is very slow and almost hypnotic and dreamlike, I would say, compared to the more action-oriented Standalone Complex.
I mean, when you talked about how, like, oh, this is very different from Standalone Complex, by the way, I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. It still Ghost in the Shell. No, really, it is very different. It's still very much following the same characters. They don't change names. It's just the way that they portray the world, the way that they want to show a message to the viewers. It's a very different approach.
Right. But the architecture that was based on Hong Kong was pretty good, wasn't it?
Oh, dude, it was awesome.
The music was really nice too. I love the music. Wait, there was that one. Oh, okay.
It was good. It was good. I give it a solid 4 out of 5.
Whatever.
To appease the fans.
Whatever. All right. I did not watch any mystery anime because I overdid it last episode and I overdid the research for this episode. But Will, you had a mystery anime.
Yeah. Well, this one's not going to be so much like, oh wow, holy shit, you actually watched this? Wait, you actually wait a minute, like wait. Are you burning me here? Like, no. This is just to show that like I've been meaning to watch. I think you've talked about it, but like you're probably less pressed to watch it than I was.
Okay, so I have not watched it, right?
No, you have definitely not watched it.
Can you give me several clues? And I can only have like 10 seconds to figure this out because we should not stall.
It's about bones.
Huh. I do know which one you're talking about.
Yep.
Sakurako. Yeah, there you go.
A corpse is buried under Sakurako's feet.
Huh. Okay, so you watched all of it?
Yep.
And is it just literally bones that Western TV show.
Sort of. It follows a central character, aptly named Sakurako, who is very much fascinated by bones. I forgot what the study of bones was, or there is actually a technical term for it. But she goes around like with a partner. I forgot his name. The thing is, like, some of the characters
very memorable, huh?
Not necessarily memorable, but it's very much focused on Sakurako and like her way of seeing the world through her massive obsession.
By the way, the study of bones is osteology because, osteo is the prefix for bones.
There you go. Cool.
Like osteoporosis, you know.
So that's basically the premise of the show. She basically has this crazy, crazy addiction to, finding and procuring and, basically rebuilding bones. So whether it's like the bones of like a dinosaur, bones of an animal, those are cool for her. But for her, the one she really, really likes is the bones of a human. And that, of course, then means that, one way or another, she gets tangled in with a couple of different criminal cases, missing person cases.
Just want to be clear, the fascination with bones is not like devious or sexual in any way. It's more like an academic fascination, right?
Basically, she just really feels that like the human body in skeletal form is a
work of art.
Is beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The music and art is actually really nice. It's actually funny because there are certain parts where, like, when she's about to do an investigation, how, like, when you watch, like, certain shows, like, for example, you watch Sailor Moon, and they transform, they have the little montage, or when, like, you watch, like, a fighting anime, and they have, like, this sort of, like, little, like, 10-second build up to, power up and all that. She has that as well. But
what?
Yeah, but what she does is she puts on the gloves, and then it's like, let's crack on with this investigation. And then she puts on the gloves, and then all of a sudden, like, everything goes into like 4K, like multicolored. Like, you just see like the bones of like multiple animals slowly crumb up from the ground, and it's just like she starts like doing these like fucking like ninja hand signals and shit.
Wait, no. Okay, you're joking, right? Like, no. I understand. Like,
no, I'm not joking at all. It's actually really fucking hilarious. It's cool as shit. You have to watch it.
Wait, it's cool as shit. I should watch. I mean, it is like on my plan to be fair,
though, it's not like earth shattering. It's not like groundbreaking.
Would you say it's bone breaking though? I'm here all day.
Yeah, don't quit your day job.
I'm not. Okay, so the anime.
Yeah, I gave it a solid 8 out of 10.
Is it an original or based on a manga?
It's based on a light novel, actually.
Okay.
And the light novel is still ongoing, but they cover like not that many more cases. I don't remember like how often the books come out.
So when you say that they're in cases, it's kind of episodic in nature, in that it's about this woman and her sidekick,
her assistant. Yeah.
So working with the police, right?
It's not so much that like they're standalone, in which like you just join in halfway and you won't miss anything. Like, you would still be able to understand like what's happening within the cases themselves, as they're all kind of contained within the 25 minutes. But in order to really understand the character of Sakurako herself, like, you really do have to watch from beginning to end, and what led to her obsession with bones, what led to her becoming like the character that she is. I think she's a wonderful character. Definitely very misunderstood, but the more you read or the novels, or you watch the show, you start seeing the more human side of her, the one that's not just a crazed bone hunter.
You mean not all flesh and bones?
No. God damn it, Jason.
Yeah, this is on the cuff too, because it's a mystery anime. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you should check it out. I think you should.
Okay, I'm just going to end it. So you have no bones to pick with this anime, don't you?
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Keep saying it, I will have a bone to pick with you. Okay,
okay. I am here all day, so there is
it's better than, just you, all meat, no bones.
Okay.
I'm not calling you fat. I'm not fat shaming you. It was a really bad joke. I'm sorry.
Yo, so I'm not that fat. I'm not thin, but I'm not that fat.
No, to be fair though, I actually did like a health checkup whilst I was at the doctors to check on my ears, and they were saying you should probably when was the last time you were at the gym? Oh wait, gyms are closed, right? You should probably try and do some workouts, at home, or maybe go for a run.
Everyone has been saying that to me too. But hey, instead of going to the gym or working out, Will went down a very, very deep and dark rabbit hole for manga, at least.
I don't know what you're talking about. To be fair, like you've been telling me that I needed to sort of broaden my palette, right? Like rather than just watching only dark and edgy shows, I should probably look into something that's a little more slice of life, more romance, more drama, just things that aren't necessarily just blood and gore.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I started reading Domestic Girlfriend.
Yeah?
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, what is Domestic Girlfriend about, Will?
If you really want to know what Domestic Girlfriend is, I highly suggest you go on YouTube and watch basically a breakdown of the series by this YouTuber named Gigguk. That's Gigguk. He does a very, very comprehensive breakdown of what the series is.
Wait, but doesn't that like spoil stuff?
No. Well, I mean, it'll spoil the first episode, but that's about it. If you watch this latter stuff, then there's spoilers, but he will tell you there's spoilers.
Okay,
it's a very wholesome show.
Yeah, of course,
wholesome manga series.
Exactly. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Listeners, it is absolutely not any of that. It's just Google it. I mean, Will doesn't have the balls to say what the.
Do you actually want me to talk? Do you actually want me to run through what the story's about?
It's your call, man. You read it.
Okay, guy has a sexual encounter with a classmate, but the classmate's like, I'm only just doing this for experimental purposes. I have no feelings for you whatsoever. We go to school, nothing happens at all. Cool. Goes to school. Okay. Turns out he has a crush on his teacher. Afterwards, his dad says, his single father says, I'm actually thinking about getting remarried. We're going to meet the family tonight. Okay, cool. So then the new mom comes in, the new stepmom comes in, and who also walks in through the door? His teacher. And the classmate that he had a sexual encounter with. Turns out they're both sisters. And now they are step-siblings. But as they start living under the same roof, there's a lot of sexual tension, there's a lot of misunderstandings, romantic feelings building up. And then he has sex with his teacher, new stepsister, older sister. But then turns out that the young stepsister walks in on them and then wonders what's going on. Turns out like, hey, wait a minute, I never had any feelings for you in the beginning. What's this feeling inside my heart? Why am I feeling feelings for this person? And then it just transpires into like this crazy incestuous love triangle. But all that aside, it's actually a very, very good manga.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It teaches you a lot about emotional growth. Being an independent person, learning that dreams do come true. You stick to your wits and have the determination to see things to the end. But it's not for everyone.
It's also highly popular though. The manga series.
It sold 3 million copies at the end of 2020, so over a 3-year run.
And there is an anime season.
I don't think there's going to be a second season.
We watched the first episode.
It was very.
the opening was really good.
I actually like this. Okay, themes aside, it's actually a very decent property.
Okay,
I quite like it. I've read every single volume of the manga, all the way to the end. It was a fucking train wreck at times, a roller coaster at times, but a train wreck nonetheless, and I fucking loved every moment of it.
What's the other train wreck that you've been reading, Will?
Hey, dude, no, this is also very wholesome too. It talks about, the human connection, what it means to be in love, what it means to actually express feelings from one to another. It's Scum's Wish.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Scum's Wish is about... Oh, man. Are we really doing this, huh?
Look, you don't have to do it.
Okay, so imagine you have a crush on somebody.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the crush that you have is not available, or like they're not showing any apparent interest in you. Now, there's another person who also has a crush, same situation. Their crush is not reciprocating the same emotions, the same feelings back to them. So what do?
Yeah, you just give up and move on, right?
No.
What do you do, Will?
You date that person too.
So, in other words, the two people who have not have their love reciprocated are then dating each other out of spite?
In a way, yes. But it's also the fact that, it's to cope with loneliness.
And
it's to cope with abandonment. It's to cope with the fact that they've been unwanted, but there's also another person that shares the same situation as them. So why not come together and wallow in misery together?
And these two people also have a pact, right?
Yeah. They have rules. It's like basically like, oh, if we ever show any emotion to each other, we break it off. If we ever have any progression with our crush, we break it off. If things ever get to a point where either one of us are uncomfortable, we break it off. So it's very wholesome. They set these ground rules so that no matter what, they're always in a position where both of them are comfortable with the rules they laid out.
Right, and just because these rules are laid out, they're going to follow it, right? There's no drama, no nothing, because everything is laid out, clear, understanding, and
No, they break the rules in like the second volume.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, I mean it's called Scum's Wish.
Yeah,
every single character is scum, but you also watch them grow, and it's very wholesome to see that they go from pieces of shit to lesser pieces of shit. But I loved every volume. It's really, really good. I'm sorry, it's really fucking good.
I did not expect Will to go down this route, but I guess it makes sense because if you like edgy stuff and drama-filled stuff and just melodrama, these two series has it in spades.
I mean, come on, man. Like, I don't want just vanilla romance.
Vanilla romance is pretty good.
Give me just like real like scum of the earth people. Like I want to see like the worst of mankind.
It's like edgy romance, isn't it?
It's romance with it's romance with a kick to it. That's what it is.
Oh Jesus. Okay. So just so that we're clear, the two manga properties that Will read to completion is Domestic Girlfriend and Scum's Wish. If you
Scum's Wish is on Netflix.
Oh yeah, they both have animes.
Yeah. Scum's Wish is on Netflix. So, I mean, for people here in Hong Kong, if you want to watch it, you're going to have to find it elsewhere. You have to find it on Crunchyroll or Funimation for Domestic Girlfriend. But if you are in Hong Kong, you want to go the route of using VPNs or subscribing to Funimation or Crunchyroll, Scum's Wish is on Netflix. If you were like me, though, just buy the manga.
Okay, there we go. That's the end of that.
Both are fantastic, by the way.
Yep.
I gave them both 9 out of 10.
Oh God, Jesus. Okay.
I mean, there are points where like I was actually on the verge of tears. It was really emotional at times. More Domestic Girlfriend than Scum's Wish. Scum's Wish is just more like, oh, cool. It's great to see that people actually show character development in this story. To be fair, though, when you start off as a piece of shit, like the only way is up.
I'm speechless. Okay. All right. So, let's move on to news. I don't know. Yeah, let's move on to news. Thank God. Thank God we're out of there, guys. We just need to get out of there.
Find out in the next episode of the Good Anime Palette podcast where we talk about and break down both Scum's Wish and Domestic Girlfriend.
It is not happening.
Okay, no, we won't do it.
So, we are now in the news section, and we actually have quite a bit of news to talk about. I think what do you want to break down first, Will?
Well, one I do want to talk about very, very quickly. I guess it's probably because it's part of like the seasonal anime that I've been watching. Jason's already really caught up with it anyway. So Attack on Titan usually comes out once a week, either on like Sunday, Mondays through regular TV syndication wherever you are in the world, and then on like midweek, like Wednesday, Thursday on Netflix, which is where I usually watch it. So I was like catching up on a few other shows, and then Thursday rolled through. It's like, okay, cool, it's Attack on Titan time. I'm gonna go watch it. Why is there no new episode? I looked everywhere. I looked on the forums, and it was like, it turns out that same day, when they were doing the live broadcast, the original like broadcast syndication, blah blah blah, there was actually a earthquake that happened in Wakayama in Japan. So it wasn't a major earthquake, thank God. Like there weren't any like major casualties.
Do you know what it was on the Richter scale?
It was a 4.6. Which is still pretty big. I'm not sure if it actually happened on the mainland or if it was like a tremor from like the waters, and then therefore there was like a tsunami warning. But luckily there hasn't been any issues. So whoever is out in Wakayama or anywhere in the surrounding areas of Japan, hopefully you're safe and nothing's happened. But yeah. Apparently, like they were showing the episode, and then midway they actually had to cancel the broadcast because then there was like a live, urgent news break, and therefore that's why they just decided to scrap the rest of the episode. And so now this coming weekend, when they do the new broadcast, they're going to re-air episode 14 and then do a double header by also releasing episode 15 right afterwards. So there's going to be a two section block of just Attack on Titan. And hopefully, with Netflix rolling through later, we'll get to get both episodes sometime later in the week.
Yep. And then episode 16 will come out.
It'll come out next week.
Then that will end what I presume would be the first part of the final season.
I mean, you've read like most of it. I mean, like you're pretty much up to date, right? So I've told you where I've watched up to, and you're saying that like there's still a lot that needs to be animated.
Yeah, and there is also a lot of twists and turns, I guess, is the way to put it.
As if there weren't already a lot of twists and turns in the world of Attack on Titan.
And then
or Shingeki no Kyojin.
And then it just gets worse, guys.
Buckle up. Spoiler alert, there's no happy ending.
But what is a happy ending for me is that they announced an 3-episode OVA for Ancient Magus Bride.
Yeah, you mentioned that this is one of your favorite shows. I think we talked about the top 10 anime we wanted to recommend.
Yes, definitely. I highly recommend this anime series. The first season, which is 24 episodes, came out a couple of years ago. I read the manga. I really like the manga as well. And they announced a 3-episode OVA. So I didn't check what the plot summary was because I think it's anime original. It is written by the mangaka. So, we talked about adapting anime in the previous episode, and it's penned by the mangaka. So I have high hopes. And hopefully this means that there will be season 2 because the manga is still ongoing. So therefore, I hope that there would be a season 2. And we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of Ancient Magus Bride, but I mean, since you put it on your top 10 list, I should probably get around to watching it at some point. When's the OVA coming out again?
I think it comes out later this year.
Okay. Right.
Either that or beginning of 2022. I don't know if they announced a release date. I'll double check on that later.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, another announcement that came out, not really an announcement, but more like a preview. There was a show that was supposed to come out, I think the previous season or sometime during 2020. The show, which is called To Your Eternity. So I don't really know all that much about it, but the trailer looked cool, the artwork looked decent, and I was ready to watch it. And then the delay came out, and it's like, okay, fine, we'll just wait. I mean, COVID basically slammed everything, so the only thing we could do was wait anyway.
To Your Eternity is based on a manga series, and I bought the manga, some of it, and I have not read it. I heard lots of good things. The rating and I guess the score on MAL, My Anime List, is really good, really high. So I have high hopes for this, and the anime is definitely premiering in April, and the opening is sung by
yours truly.
I mean, no.
My truly.
Okay, it's sung by a woman named Utada Hikaru.
I love Utada.
Yeah. I have very fond memories of her music, so it kind of brings us back to.
It brings me back to my Kingdom Hearts days. If anybody out here is a Kingdom Hearts fan,
it's a video game.
Yeah, that's it for me. I mean, she sang the opening. She sang the main song for the first one as well as the third one that came out 3 years ago. I love her.
Back in the heyday, she was probably one of the most prolific J-pop singers at the time. I guess with like a bunch of other people, but she is definitely up there. She's also fluent in English. And when I mean by fluent, I don't mean like, oh, she just somehow knows how to speak decent English. She went to Columbia.
I think she was born and raised in the U.S., right? Or that she spent time between New York and Japan.
She has English albums, which are not as good as like her Japanese sung albums, but if anything,
as reference, me being a massive Kingdom Hearts fan, like when she sang the songs for both Kingdom Hearts 1, I don't know if she had much for 2. I didn't really remember much about 2. But when she did the songs for Kingdom Hearts 1 and 3, she sang both the Japanese version as well as the English version. So very well versed, very linguistic.
Yep, very fluent. So she is singing the opening song for the anime To Your Eternity, and it is just another reason to be hyped about watching To Your Eternity in April.
And our spring 2021 to watch list is fucking stacked.
I have 14 shows that I plan to watch. Now, am I going to watch all 14? In the beginning, yes.
I'm probably not that far off yours. I'm probably like around maybe like 9, maybe 10.
And we will talk about what we will watch for the new season as we progress throughout the next couple of episodes, because we might as well talk about it when we watch all these new shows, right?
Yeah, by the time the next main episode comes out, the new seasonal stuff will either be airing or about to air. So at least then, we'll be able to watch it and give you like a quick preview of what to expect, what to watch, what to drop, or what to just wait on.
And so we got looking forward to that. Another announcement that I'm looking forward to a lot is anime that is premiering soon. I actually don't remember. Is it 2021? Yeah, I think so. And it is Miruka-chan, which is a horror comedy, believe it or not. It's actually accurate. And it's based off of a manga, and they just announced that there would be an anime premiering end of this year? Yeah, I think so. End of this year.
Yeah, and that one I'm excited about because I'm just as perplexed as you, right? Like, why would anybody want to put horror and comedy together? It's like, is it like a scary movie kind of situation?
Absolutely not.
Right? Like, because that was just more comedy than horror.
So there's 2 volumes of the English translated manga out. I think in Japan there's up to volume 4 or 5. So there's enough material. Because at first I was like 2 volumes, at least in the English version, there's no way you can fit a whole season in there. But turns out that they probably have enough content. What is the anime about? It's about this girl who is Miruka-chan. And I think it's a play off of oh god, I forgot what it was, but it's like Mire, which is like to look, and like her name and like to look. Oh my god, I need to double check that. Basically, it's like a portmanteau. It's like a play on words as a pun. Anyways, this girl can see ghosts. And when I say ghosts, I don't mean, hey, all these like Casper the Friendly Ghost kind of thing. They are fucking monstrosities. And it is just about this girl's everyday slice of life and seeing all these horrific things that no one else can see, and trying her very darndest to not indicate that she can see them.
I'm excited for that. Actually, just running off what you said, imagine if like there was like an anime version of Casper the Friendly Ghost, but instead of being friendly, it was anything but friendly. Casper the Edgy Ghost. I would like to see a horror rendition of that.
Yeah, sure. Horror is
done by Studio Mappa as well.
Yeah, okay, everything is done by Studio Mappa. Got it.
Anything else? Oh, actually, there's one more thing. I think we have one more thing we wanted to talk about.
That is correct.
Yeah. So both Jason and I, in our free time when we're not working or doing the podcast, we spend a lot of time scouring the internet for Kickstarter projects. Now, what is Kickstarter? It's a platform in which a lot of collaborators, producers would showcase products that they want to roll out. But, of course, they want to use community-based funding to be able to secure the amount of equity needed to be able to roll out products, but at a lower price, or to be able to give more perks to the people who back their projects. So it could range anything from like household items, board games, video productions. And speaking of video productions, there was one that actually caught our eye. So this property, I'm not as familiar to it as Jason is, but I have been meaning to read up on it. The manga series itself in English is called excuse me, it's called The Girl from the Other Side. And recently, Wit Studio, who were known for doing the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan, Kabaneri, The Great Pretender, they have launched a Kickstarter campaign to push for the anime adaptation for The Girl from the Other Side. And it's done very well so far. The fact that it's a very long Kickstarter campaign, but they met their goal within the first day.
Yeah. And there is, I guess, a 10-minute, OVA that got released a while ago. I think summer of 2019. And it had great reception, and I think it premiered in certain film festivals. It was only 10 minutes, no voice acting, but it was really good. People should expect great things.
No voice acting. Kind of sounds like Paparia. Well, I mean, obviously it's very different in style, but like using like visual and music cues to create ambience as opposed to using voice, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I have to say that I read 2 volumes of the manga. There is 10 volumes out, with the 11th is it 9 or 10 volumes? I need to double check. But the final volume, volume 11, is coming out, at least in Japan, in April, early April. And the art style and what it's about, I won't spoil sort of what it's about, but the art style is very.
It looks sick.
It's like a fairy tale, almost like a Western kind of art style. And all I can say is that it looks very innocent looking, but there's a lot of sinister, dark themes from behind the scenes that's happening around the world that it's set in, and it's really good.
It's like a grim fairy tale, basically.
Basically, yes, exactly, like a dark, grim fairy tale. So, that's sort of we kickstarted it. And
yeah. we definitely kickstarted it. I'm so excited to watch this, just because of the fact that I can't get enough of Wit Studios productions.
We have to wait till winter 2022 though. So hey, I mean, if anything, it's like we're supporting the anime industry. We're supporting a studio that we both like. We're supporting a property that I like a lot. And we're making things happen. It was great.
Yeah, we know like it can be tough to get productions done if it's not done through like a major corporation, or there isn't enough like major fanfare. Then what else do? You have to reach out to your community, and thank God that the anime community is a strong one.
I mean, also you could use the Kickstarter crowdfunding resource as a way to indicate to other investors that, hey, this property, this project is worth investing money into. Would you like to sink more money into that? I mean, Studio Trigger did Little Witch Academia through Kickstarter, and they now have a full-fledged show that premiered through Netflix.
Yeah, I think it's just, studios wanting to sort of break the shackles of the process of getting a animation greenlit. Like sometimes you just really look into viewership numbers, and then through that, it's the most like visual sort of gauge on how something will perform, what your ROI is, like your return on investments. I guess not all businesses care about doing passion projects, right? But at the same time, it's freaking Studio Wit. It's Wit. They're amazing. They're super good, and I'm excited to see what they're going to produce for this. We know that like it's going to be a while before it comes out, and like the investments that go through it with it, like it's not like chump change. It is a fair amount of money to help put this together, but we know that this money is going to a good place.
Yep. So I think that is all it is for the news, right?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I didn't mean to spend that much time talking about the synopsis of Domestic Girlfriend and Scum's Wish, but I feel like people, if they really wanted to read it and know what kind of shit that is good these days, go ahead.
Or not to read it. I mean, I don't know. Look, to be fair, okay, let's be fair. Domestic Girlfriend Scum's Wish is something that I plan to read at some point. And actually, the anime is not ranked very highly, I would say, compared to, let's say, the manga itself, right?
I think that, so for me, especially with Domestic Girlfriend, the anime season, the only season that I think is ever going to come out, is primarily used as advertising. Like, I think they got like a relatively budget studio to do it, 12 episodes, roll it out, garner attention, some criticism, some controversy. But hey, I mean, publicity is publicity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 3 million copies of the manga within 3 years. That's a decent number.
That statistic is nothing to scoff at, for sure.
Yeah, so I think look, it's, you may have your qualms with it. You may have certain perspectives of what the plot's about. Just give it a chance. And if you really don't like it, then send me an email and tell me I'm a filthy human being.
Will,
or just do it regardless. I am a filthy human being.
You are a filthy human being.
Yeah, write an email and then send it to me.
Okay, so I think that is it for our first 2 sections. I think we're going to take a break and then come back with our main discussion topic, which
will be a very, very crunchy one.
Yeah, okay. Wow, okay, all right.
Hope y'all stay hydrated. Hope y'all had a nice little break. And we're back with the second half of today's episode of the Good Anime Palette podcast. We're still here with me, Will, as well as Jason.
Hi.
Yep. So after a crazy turn of events when it came to the anime and manga reveal of basically what I've been reading and watching. I'm sorry I had to put you through that, Jason.
Oh, no, it's fine. I have to reiterate that I am not going to let Will suffer on his own because Domestic Girlfriend and Scum's Wish was something that I do want to tackle at some point. So it's not like I throw shade at you, just to spite you. It's just more like fun banter, but I will probably, based on your recommendation, probably read up on it sooner rather than later.
Man, you're a real bro. Yeah, you're a brother, man.
Yeah.
Not blood related, though.
No, oh, Jesus. Oh, God. I mean, it's not like we're screwing each other, right?
No.
Jesus.
Okay, all jokes aside, really check out Domestic Girlfriend. Check out Scum's Wish is not in the same vein. It's just it's also
it's just more depravity.
Yeah, it's actually quite depressing. But there's things that you can look into it, and it does make you feel better. It does make you feel better in the end.
Right. So our main discussion topic today is about a particular company. It is Crunchyroll.
Isn't that a kind of sushi?
Yes, it is. No, it's like maki something.
Oh wait, yeah, it's a crunch roll, right?
Yeah,
where you have the tempura flakes on top with
okay,
the deep fried shrimp inside.
Okay, so they
might be called a dragon roll, actually.
Or like a spider roll.
Spiders with deep fried soft shell crab.
Okay, Crunchyroll. You have heard Will and I mention it since the inception of this podcast, since episode 0, and I'm sure many of you would have either heard of it, Crunchyroll, or use it. Crunchyroll obviously being one of the leading streaming anime platforms all around the world. And our topic today is not only talking about the history and certain events that actually are very relevant in this day and age for the anime manga industry, but also talking about the Crunchyroll originals, which are similar to like the Netflix originals animes. Whether or not they're of the same quality is something that we will get into.
Yeah, so we've especially spent quite a bit of time over the past few weeks catching up on some Crunchyroll shows, the manga, or at least specifically the source material that it originated from. Just to sort of see what shows that the streaming platform has specifically been producing. We're not talking about like shows that have been produced by a different studio but then licensed by Crunchyroll. No. We're not talking about that stuff.
Oh no, there is that too.
There's that too, but like specifically in terms of the stuff we've been watching, like
right.
Specifically.
So
yeah, we watched a lot of shit.
Earlier I said that we would mention what I have been watching and reading specifically because for this segment of the main discussion topic about Crunchyroll, I watch a lot of anime and read a lot of manga on a weekly basis, and because Overkill is my middle name, I went crazy on the research. So
it's a whole page in the docket in terms of how much Jason has read and watched since the last recording, or at least in combination of what he's been reading and watching.
So should I just lay down the stats in terms of like what I consumed in preparation for this?
Just lay it out. You can give us like a short synopsis if you feel necessary, but just hit us with the numbers.
Okay, so for anime, I watched 5 episodes of Inspector. I watched 11 episodes of Fly Me to the Moon. I was 1 episode away from finishing it, and I was gonna watch it before we came to the recording studio, but I couldn't do it in time. I watched So I'm a Spider, So What? 2 episodes of that. I watched 1 episode of Dr. Ramune. I watched The Noblesse Awakening, ONA, which was like the prequel to the TV series. And I watched 3 episodes of the Noblesse Season 1. And then manga. You ready for this, Will? I read 9 volumes of Inspector, 1 volume of Fly Me to the Moon, 1 volume of So I'm a Spider, So What? The manga adaptation of the light novel. And I read the first volume of Dr. Ramune. And this does not even include the webtoon stuff that we will also get into because webtoons and Crunchyroll got into like an anime partnership.
Yeah, so we'll be touching on that in just a bit. I think we well, actually, both you and I had spent some time watching some of the stuff and also reading some of the stuff off of the Webtoon platform.
Right.
But we do want to dedicate, a set amount of time to talk about that
Yeah.
solely.
So,
I think if we just lump everything together, it would just take too long anyway.
So your boy Jason just doesn't know what restraining is. Like, it's just, hey, look, I love anime and I love manga, okay? And it's believe it or not, Crunchyroll started in 2006. It was a streaming platform as well, but people always assume that Crunchyroll is this company that streams anime and it's one of the best legal ways to consume anime. But when it first started, it was actually very questionable. It was a service in 2000. It was founded in 2006 by I think 4 people. I don't have their names in front of me, but yeah. And what they did was they just streamed fan subs, which means the anime was have subtitles that was translated not by quote unquote professionals, but by just everyday people who just so happens to understand English and Japanese. And also, they never got the license for those fan subs.
Yeah, I think at the time too, like we're talking about like the early mid 2000s when a lot of shows, I mean, we talked about this in the previous episode where we talked about things like Dragon Ball, we talked about Pokemon, Naruto, One Piece. At the time when it came to syndicating these shows in the US, of course you're not going to be just playing the original Japanese versions, right? You're going to be having to translate them by dubbing the voices into English.
And even those were pretty hard to come by.
Yeah, or if you did find them, they weren't always great.
Yeah, exactly.
It was sometimes like I think when I was a kid too, I always thought like watching Dragon Ball and watching not so much Dragon Ball, watching like Pokemon. I always thought Pokemon was like an American property,
right?
But then like actually watching the Japanese version, like, oh, so that's what Ash's voice sounds like. Oh, so that's what Pikachu. Oh, Pikachu sounds the same. Okay, cool. Right.
Yeah. So it wasn't until I think 3 years after the inception of the company Crunchyroll that they actually obtained legal distribution rights for the animes that they were streaming, and then pledged from that point onwards to be a quote-unquote legitimate streaming platform and business, which they obviously have kept up to this very day and probably till the end of time. Also, they're not just a streaming platform. They also have an app for, at least on Apple devices, the manga, where they, for example, had chapters of Attack on Titan. I remember reading Attack on Titan through their manga app. They even have an expo, like a Crunchyroll anime expo, that actually started out in 2017, which was a lot more recent than I thought when I did research for this.
Yeah, I think like especially with anime being like so much of our like upbringing, having like seen shows that like were developed in the 70s and 80s, like it actually kind of baffled me that the Crunchyroll Awards were only 4 years old.
Right. So, Will is mentioning about the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, which, for better or for worse, is an anime award celebration. I guess if I had to describe it to someone in like one sentence, it's the Western Academy Awards equivalent of anime. Even though I don't think that description is necessarily accurate.
Not to mention that sometimes when they do like the awards as well, like I feel like sometimes the nominations they have aren't always great.
They have your typical like anime of the year and certain categories, but then they also have like best girl, best boy, best couple, best kiss, and things like that. And it's
most of those kind of things are like quite subjective. To be fair though, like the awards like platform itself, there is going to be some subjectivity to it. But
I remember that one year with Yuri on Ice, the ice skating boy love anime series, when they made it so that it was best boy and best girl as the couple, and then best kiss was them. Not everyone, but a lot of, I guess, backlash was it's
It
like
was to be expected, right? I think it was just poorly handled.
yeah, it's poorly handled. And then the Anime Awards, they're a thing. And just to give an indication of how big Crunchyroll is, they by 2017, so 11 years, they reached 1 million paid subscribers. So think of it like Netflix. And then in 2020, that number reached to 3 million. So within a span of 3 years, they increased their paid subscribers by 2 million. And people always compare it to Netflix, and I guess in that sense, but it's just like Crunchyroll is just anime.
Exactly. Like Netflix, you'll have shows from pretty much, depending on your region, right? Shows from almost every country. Like you can access, Indian shows, Korean shows, Hong Kong shows, Chinese shows, Taiwanese shows, along with all the Western developed properties. And then there's also a section for anime. So I understand your point here too, where you just cannot compare the two because one is literally everything and the other one is just anime.
So within this niche market, which is ever growing every year, which I'm really happy about, because I think that's just it makes a lot of sense that this niche industry gets bigger and bigger every year. 3 million subscribers, paid subscribers, is insane to me.
And you have to also remember too that this is a platform that was first and foremost developed within North America, and the service that they have is primarily promoted to try and engage a more Western audience, right? So that's why Crunchyroll doesn't really exist in Japan.
Yes.
Right? Like,
or even in Hong Kong, actually.
Yeah, Hong Kong's catalog for Crunchyroll is like 1/10 of what you would get in the US and Canada. And it makes sense because of the fact that we've had exposure to anime way before they had it in the US, which is why, Hong Kong, we've had Animax. In Japan, where manga and anime are from, they have Aniterra, I think, one of the other platforms. They have Nico Nico, which is another free streaming platform. Not to mention, if you just turn on your TV box, you could just record shows that are publicly broadcasted at night or even throughout the day. Literally, you turn on the TV, there's going to be a channel that's playing anime. So that's why Crunchyroll, while it doesn't exist in more sort of less English spoken countries, the fact they were able to at least get 3 million within the Western world, I think that's phenomenal. That's a really big number. And this is paid subscribers too. There's probably still more people outside of their paid subscription base.
Yeah, because you can register a free account and just watch with ads. And so Crunchyroll, we will make some parallels to Netflix, despite the fact that we just said that it's not really comparable.
In the end, it's still a streaming service.
Yes.
Right?
And as a juggernaut of this anime streaming service, the next logical step would then be, why don't we produce our own anime? Similar to how Netflix produces their own anime, Crunchyroll does as well, and they called them Crunchyroll Originals. And we will talk about these originals in depth later on. I feel like, though, there are two other major events which happened. The second one that I'm going to mention happened, was it in December of 2020?
Yes, right at the end of 2020.
And then the other one happened in 2019 and also in 2020, but we'll get into that. So the one in December 9th of 2020 is about the acquisition of Crunchyroll by Sony Entertainment. Is that correct? Sony, yeah, yes. Sony. And the reason why that is a big deal is because Sony, the parent company, also owns something else called Funimation. Now, in the West at least, when you ask someone where they watch their anime episodes, if they do not say Crunchyroll, probably the second answer that everyone will gravitate towards if it's not Netflix, it would be Funimation.
You know what's actually really funny? So I was using my Switch the other day, and I was actually able to download the Funimation app on my Switch despite being in Hong Kong. It was really weird. I say that's weird because the fact that Funimation, you can't access it in Hong Kong.
I mean, you could access it with a VPN, but yes, that is generally correct.
Yeah, it's widely used in, again, English-speaking countries. You can use it in the U.S., in Canada, in the U.K., Australia as well, but not Hong Kong.
So what this acquisition means is that Sony now owns both Crunchyroll and Funimation. So then the thing that I want to say before we talk about the consequences and ramifications of that is how much Sony paid for Crunchyroll. It wasn't in the millions.
You got to add an extra 3 zeros to that, man.
It was $1.175 billion just for Crunchyroll.
It is a big number, but you also have to think about the fact that AT&T, which is the parent company of Funimation, of Crunchyroll, because it was a sort of a partnership between AT&T and Warner Media. AT&T is actually holding on to a lot of debt. They were talking billions of dollars of debt, so they needed to clean up a few things. And if it meant that they had to give up the biggest anime streaming platforms to get over $1 billion out of it, I'd say that was a no-brainer for them.
And not only that, but to that number, that price tag of essentially $1.1 billion just emphasizes how important and valuable Crunchyroll is.
I think we're really starting. We've known for a while, right, with Crunchyroll, Netflix, even to some extent Amazon Prime and Hulu, that anime is pretty much at the front of a streaming war.
I'll be very honest. Before Netflix got into the anime game, I would say less than 5 years ago, I would say it was always just Crunchyroll. Funimation was very well known for getting certain rights here and there, but they're also well known for their dubbing, which Crunchyroll almost never does. So Funimation kind of carved out its niche of being the English dubbing platform for anime, whereas everyone, including myself at the time, would say Crunchyroll is the premium and possibly basically the only anime streaming platform.
Yeah, I was lucky enough that when I was in college, I was in the U.S., which meant that if I was to watch my anime, I had Crunchyroll. Yeah, I had Netflix too, but like you said, right, the Netflix anime catalog didn't start booming until the late 2010s.
Exactly. So yeah, I also had a lot of positive experience from using Crunchyroll both in the U.S. and in Australia. So,
yeah, we could say stuff about how sometimes maybe the subtitles can be a little bit better, but you can say the same thing about Netflix too. So I don't really want to harp too much on that.
So, Will, what do you think, if we have to explain to listeners, what does it mean, really, the merger of Crunchyroll and Funimation?
Well, the fact that both of these properties were separate before, one which was known to essentially broadcast subtitled anime, and the other one which is more for dubbed. What I want to see is, in terms of the implications of this merger, is how the catalogs are going to be combined, and what happens to the subscription base for people who have, a plan with Crunchyroll and people who have plans with Funimation.
Even though the merger was confirmed in December, we want to reiterate that as of right now, it's still business as usual, as in Crunchyroll is still by itself doing its thing. Funimation is still by itself doing this thing. And I think because of the way that acquisitions of companies work, it actually will take some time before everything gets finalized, or we would see any implications for the users. We won't see it right away. We'll see it maybe, I don't know anything about this, but let's just say 6 to 12 months.
I mean, what you should also look into is the fact that this merger, I hate to say it, it's not for the fans. The fans are not necessarily, in a way, yes, it's because of the fact that we subscribe to these platforms, therefore we are paying for these platforms. But I think for them, it's still very much like money comes first, which means that they're going to be doing a lot of back office work. They're going to be doing a lot of clearing of specific sort of like out of business properties, out of business departments within each company, finding where the giant revenue generators are, and figuring out ways to essentially increase the amounts of licensing and broadcasting rights for their for the services. Like streaming right now is paramount. Like there's nothing you can do in TV if you're not streaming.
And I think the licensing or the rights, distribution rights, or the rights to stream is in a way, it sounds on initially like, oh, it's great because basically the biggest platform for anime streaming and one of the biggest anime platforms for anime streaming is merging together as one. Isn't that great? Oh, their catalog, they have different catalogs and they were separate before, even though they had a deal, I think, in 2017 to sort of have a partnership. I think that broke off, and then I think they broke off in 2019 to not have that deal. And then in 2020, they got, Crunchyroll got bought anyways. So people were thinking like, oh, they merged their catalogs, they merged their users, so then the users will have more access to more shows, right? I guess in principle you could say that that is accurate, even though we have not seen any indication of that. But I think the more, I guess, behind the scenes thing that actually causes a lot of concern, to me at least, is the licensing rights. Because at this point, if Funimation and Crunchyroll, for all intents and purposes, are already going to be one big company, there is a lot less competition to get rights to do certain things. And to be honest, other than Netflix, I cannot think of a competitor that could play at the same level.
I mean, yeah, you're kind of saying that like they're cornering the market, which in effect it is.
It is.
There's almost no competition left now, right? Like we talked about Crunchyroll, Funimation, Netflix. If you wanted to talk a little bit more, left field or like more obscure, then you have things like Verve and High Dive, maybe some other smaller
like
local,
Hulu,
yeah,
Amazon Prime. But so then, what this means, I guess, in layman terms, is if you were an anime studio or you have an anime that you want to have your rights sold to the West for distribution purposes, you actually have a lot less options now, which then means there will be less room for you to negotiate certain prices, which then means you might get less, because if you don't go with Crunchyroll or you don't go with Netflix, then where else are you going to go? So then they have you like holding you hostage in many ways, which then means that they can dictate what to do. It's a monopoly, or a duopoly.
In this essence here, it's just basically two monopolies, right? You could say that there's competition between the two, but I wouldn't say that like whatever's happening at Crunchyroll will like massively affect what's happening at Netflix. Netflix will still keep everything business as usual because yes, there is a growing catalog for anime on Netflix, but that's not their first and foremost like modus operandi.
There's not their bread and butter.
No, like Crunchyroll, Funimation, like they got their start in anime. They will die by anime. So I don't think that this merger necessarily means that like there's like a duopoly. I think it's just that you just have one big power joining with another big power, and now you have this massive shadow above you saying, "Hey, I heard you like anime. Come with me." Oh, you don't want to come with me? Then you die.
Yep.
That's literally it now.
So, if Crunchyroll didn't have a huge market share on the anime streaming industry, they also went into partnership with another company. And in order to explain this, I think we're going to have to go a little bit off track. So, last episode we talked about anime adaptations, which then talks about where anime base off of their source. Some of it obviously is anime original, which we talked about last episode. Most of it is through manga, and some of it is also through light novels. And the past couple of years, the trend was light novels as well.
A very small amount from visual novels as well. But generally,
exactly.
like those would be like the go-to routes for an adaptation.
However, it's finite in terms of the amount of things that you can adapt from, or the amount of good things, or the well might get dry someday. Where else are you going to get it? So it turns out that there is a type of digital, they call it digital comic, and it originated in South Korea. It's called manhwa, which is like manga, but then I guess they have to differentiate because manga is Japanese. So manhwa with is it MWA?
No, manhwa would be MANHAW.
Yeah,
but it's the same with us too in Hong Kong, where it's called manhwa, but we write it as MANHUA.
And that's, I think, specifically for Chinese.
Yeah, so if you're reading it in Taiwan, reading it in China, reading it in Hong Kong, manhwa.
So manhwa, the Korean term, also has something called webtoon, which is basically manga, but in digital form exclusively. And their format is a bit different because if I were to say like Western comics or Chinese manhwa, and also just Japanese manga in general, they have a very fixed format in terms of it reads from right to left, right?
Yeah, basically, you're reading it horizontally, right to left or left to right, depending on whether you're reading a manga or a comic book. With manhwa, on the other hand, or manhwa specifically on this platform, which is called Webtoon, which I believe is owned by Naver.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so they actually read vertically from top to bottom.
And it's mainly because of smartphones and how you would scroll up and down. So then instead of scrolling left or right to read certain pages, you would just keep scrolling down like you would any web page or just anything really.
It's a pretty cool way of doing it. So like if we were to read like comic books, whether it's Western or Asian or just comics that are read horizontally, whenever you have like one of those massive double panel shots, right, where it takes up 2 full pages and it's like glorious, illustrated perfectly, it looks freaking awesome. Now you can't do that on a phone unless you're reading it landscape, but so then of course, we're constrained by the dimensions of what you're reading on it. Why don't we do it so that instead of having to have a full landscape, we just have one long panel where if it's like, for example, you're doing like a fight scene, it just flows from top to bottom. Or maybe you're trying to showcase a metropolis, like a city, so you show like the top of the rooftops where the stars are, and it takes you like maybe like a whole 30 seconds, maybe even 45 seconds to scroll all the way down to the bottom, so you see the whole cityscape, and then you get down to the ground level. Like, it's a whole new perspective in terms of reading comics. It was I quite like it.
I like it a lot too, and I've read quite a bit of it. So I want to emphasize that Webtoon, the genre, is very different than Webtoon, the app with Naver. I think when you think of Webtoons, the service Webtoons is synonymous. It's one of the biggest platforms of that sort. But Webtoon, the genre itself, there are other platforms out there. But similar to how Crunchyroll is the most prolific anime streaming site, Webtoon is by far the most prolific Webtoon online platform.
Do you think it's just because the fact that like Webtoons themselves, like the platform as well as the format, it's relatively new? Like, I know it's been around for a while, but like when you compare it to like manga, right? Like manga has been in the game for decades, whereas like the proliferation of manhwa, of Webtoons, would you say it's been like the last 10, maybe 15 years?
I would not even go 15. I would say less than 10, more than 5. Yeah, I would say
very
way
very
more popular in the last 5 years.
Oh, it's blown up. I think it also comes down to adaptations as well, which we'll get into.
Yeah, so why do we mention Webtoons and South Korean manga? The reason is because Crunchyroll and Webtoon, the online platform, signed a partnership deal in 2019. And what does that mean for anime viewers in general? It means that, at least as far as Crunchyroll is concerned, they now have a catalog of online, would you say online comics? Would you would say manhwa is online comics, right?
Yeah, I would say that.
So then now Crunchyroll
web based, but not
web-based.
But they're not web comics.
No,
that's a whole different.
That's a whole
genre.
different thing. So now Crunchyroll technically has this whole catalog, this new well to extract adaptations from, which then goes into our discussion of anime originals for Crunchyroll, which they call Crunchyroll originals. Because, as Will alluded to a little, like just moments ago, I would say this year, right? Last year, 2020, was basically the breakout year for the manifestation of this partnership between Crunchyroll and Webtoon.
Yeah, this was the opportunity for them to showcase, what the partnership was about, and I think it works both ways. One, for them it works because, like you said, they have new source material to access, and two, people who are either fans of anime or people who are fans of manhwa will now have something new to check out. I think that when it came to animation, right? Like, I don't think there's really that many Korea exclusive animations. Maybe like on smaller scales or stuff that's like kept locally. Like, I know there's quite a few like animation studios in Korea, but a lot of them actually outsource their work. Like, for example, like Studio Mir, which is a South Korean studio, but they signed a partnership with Netflix to produce on stuff that's not shown locally.
You mean not outsource their work? Is their
as in they only work on stuff that's not based in Korea. So
they work on. They're the outsourced company receiving work from other companies and doing.
So they'll do like American shows, they'll do Mexican shows, they'll do Japanese shows. Like, one of the major properties they did was like Voltron.
Yeah, and also like I think a little bit off topic is that Vietnam also is a very like well-known area where if, for example, if you look at some of the credits for some of these anime shows, you would see a lot of Korean names, you would see a lot of Vietnamese names. That is because that a lot of these works get outsourced to these countries, so then they will do these works and then send them back, and then they get premiered all over the world and in Japan.
Yeah, so tying it back to Korea, so we hadn't really seen that many, or if any, like internationally streamed or syndicated animations. And I think a lot of it comes down to, in the early 2000s, actually in the past 10, 20 years, where Korean dramas, Korean shows, like live action shows, started adapting manhwas. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's on like the Webtoon platform that have gone on to get adaptations, but in live action form. And I think it's just because of the fact that that's just the way things were done. Like, naturally, it's super popular. I'd say the Korean dramas, like the craze surrounding that is amazing. It's like I watched one or two. I'm not that big on it. There are some Korean movies that are freaking excellent, though.
We also I forgot to mention. So the Webtoon, the online platform, is actually free. There are like paid services that you can do to get like chapters early.
Yeah, you spend like a couple dollars to get coins, and then coins are used to get access to stuff that is through a paywall. Now, of course, that kind of sucks, but if you do want to read something, you can just wait, because you get free coins every now and then, which you could use to read stuff.
Yeah, not only that, but basically there's a lot of content to be consumed for free. All you have to do is download the app, and if you don't want to wait for new stuff, then you have to go through a paywall. But other than that, for all intents and purposes, it's essentially 100% free with no ads. I mean, there is some ads, but yeah.
It's like, for example, like one of the manhwas I was reading, which was called Bastard. Very, very good. The first 3 or 5 chapters, they call them episodes, by the way. They call them episodes rather than chapters.
And they also separate it into seasons.
Yeah. So it's getting a little confusing. So I read the first 5 episodes, and then I hit a paywall. But then rather than paying, it said that, okay, just wait till the next day, and you get to read 2 more free chapters tomorrow. Wait another day, you get 2 more free chapters afterwards. So if you do want to catch up on something, you might need to exercise a little patience, but you will be able to access and consume everything on there without having to spend $1.
Okay, so now that we have explained what webtoons and manhwa is, let us bring it back to the context of Crunchyroll. So as we mentioned, similar to Netflix anime original content, Crunchyroll has their original content aptly named Crunchyroll originals. Will and I have seen, well, I at least have seen almost all of them to a certain degree, and for some of them have read their respective adaptations as well.
You're a braver man than me. I've kind of just stayed away from it. I think just upon like initial viewing, when I don't really know much about a property, like I tend to gravitate to my anime list and just looking at the ratings. It doesn't look pretty.
Okay,
But
so
some of the stuff look very promising.
So I will now I'll just name drop in succession a bunch of properties. And then I think what
You're
Will
going to do it again. You're going to talk about how you've read 9 volumes of Inspector and watched 5 episodes of Inspector.
No, I'm not going to do it like that. I've already done that. It's all good. But we will probably get into a little bit of each. So then if you're interested, you can check out the anime itself and also know what we think about it. So I think in order of run date, you get Inspector, which is based off of a Japanese novel. You get Tower of God, which is a webtoon based off of a webtoon. You have The God of High School, which is an adaptation of another webtoon done by Mappa. Your boy, Mappa, right?
I freaking love Mappa, but I have other thoughts about God of High School.
Right. You have an anime original work called Jibiate. You have a Japanese manga adaptation called Fly Me to the Moon or Tonikawa. You have the third webtoon adaptation called Noblesse. You then have a light novel adaptation called So I'm a Spider, So What, which is airing this season. You have Dr. Ramune, Mysterious Disease Specialist, which is also airing this season. You have X-Arm, the godforsaken anime X-Arm, that is based off of a manga. Oh, and Dr. Rumine is also based off of a manga.
I think we need to give some praise to X-Arm because it's really historic, as in historically bad.
Yeah. So anyways, it is also X-Arm is also airing this this season. So I think that is all the anime that Japanese anime that we will be talking about.
Yeah, they do have other productions, but those ones are like wholly like based in the U.S. There's also like I think there's a Mexican animation they're doing too. But for the sake of this podcast, we'll be talking specifically about the animes that are like focused in Japanese.
Yep. So we actually looked at the ratings, the rank, and the popularity through my anime list for all the animes I just mentioned.
Before we go into that, do you want to talk about how we feel about the shows and then compare like
Oh,
our
okay,
feelings
yeah,
of the
sure. Which one do you want to tackle first?
So I'll start off with the one that I personally like the most. I feel like it could be a top or maybe like a top 2 for you because I know that there's another show that you quite liked from the Crunchyroll anime slate, Tower of God.
Right.
Tower of Kevin Penkin.
Yes.
If you don't know, Kevin Penkin is a young Australian music composer who has done wonderful work. Like, I mean, as much as we talk shit about Made in Abyss, yeah, he actually did fantastic work on it.
The soundtrack is so good.
The soundtrack for Tower of God is godly. It's funny, huh?
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah, but it's so good. And, taking like aside from the music as well, like I think the animation quality is very decent. It's beautifully done. The fight scenes are very smooth, kinetic, and you definitely feel that a lot of time was spent in terms of putting together the show. Now, I know that there are some rumblings within like the manhwa world, within the webtoon world about the pacing of the show. I think it's just the fact that they were given only 13 episodes to run through. I think however many chapters, like almost 100 chapters of the
episodes.
Yeah, 100 episodes.
Webtoon episodes.
Yeah, basically chapters, but for the sake of webtoons, we'll call it episodes. So to fit in 100 episodes, webtoon episodes into 13 anime episodes, you could tell it was rushed. You could tell that a lot of things were cut out. And I actually read a couple. I read up to the part where we watched up to for the anime. And it took really fucking long to get to that stage because there was so much backstory, there was so much character development that was just omitted from the webtoon. But
no, you mean omitted from the anime?
No, as in from the webtoon, they omitted it and then just ran a condensed version of the anime. So they omitted shit from it, and then afterwards, you kind of got lost at times, but then they bring you back in. And I think it's just because of the fact that the story of Tower of God is a pretty good one. Therefore, you never really felt like you're too lost. You might want a little more explanation, a little more backstory about a character or about a specific fight scene, but I don't think it's that costly to the overall experience.
What is Tower of God's plot synopsis, Will?
So there's a young kid named Bam.
Yes.
And he needs to find a girl
called Rachel.
And in order to do that, he needs to fight his way through the Tower of God,
which is literally just a tower, and you ascend through the floors, and each floor has kind of a challenge or battle or something in order to progress to the next floor. And essentially, when you reach the top, you can wish for whatever you want, or you become a god or something like that. We are not entirely sure because we have not finished it. And obviously, it goes in depth about the friends and foes that Bam meets along the way. And it's hilarious because we were talking earlier about Webtoon being this vertical format, and obviously the tower is vertical, so it kind of fits almost perfectly with Webtoon. Almost if you say it was specifically designed for Webtoon, it is specifically designed. I just want to emphasize that. Yeah, so
I would say that, of course, give the anime a shot, but if you really want to fully experience Tower of God, you absolutely have to read the manhwa and webtoon. It is amazing.
So Tower of God, I also really like. I think it has a lot of color, a lot of style. I just think all around it is very well produced. So, what is the second show that what's the second show that you want to talk about, Will?
I'll just get it out of the way. There's only 2 shows I watched. They were Crunchyroll originals. I'm not including Jabate and X-Arm because, God, those are awful. We'll talk about those later. They're just fucking shit. I'm serious. I mean, we've talked enough crap about X-Arm, but holy hell, I didn't think we'd need to talk about another terrible show that came out from Crunchyroll. Anyways, next show I wanted to talk about was God of High School, which I have mixed feelings about it because I could see why it's so popular. I mean, anytime you have a battle tournament or a fighting anime or manga, manhwa, usually you get that adrenaline rush, right? The hype moments, you want to see just full on action, people beating the shit out of each other, but it just didn't really hit it for me. And I think when I was talking about how Tower of God felt rushed or the pacing was off, I felt it more so with God of High School.
I just want to say God of High School and Tower of God are separate properties. So even though they both have God in the title, they're not related other than the fact that they're both webtoons on the webtoon platform. I finished God of High School last year when it was airing. So I watched it as the season progressed when it was airing.
I put it on hold after episode 10.
And there was only 12 episodes? Or
13.
13. I thought that God of High School was promising at first, and then it kind of fell apart towards the end in a big way.
It's kind of like my experience being in high school.
So, yeah, mine too. So, God of High School, in several sentences, is essentially a tournament that is held around the world, but this one takes place in Korea.
To find the best fighter in Korea.
And then they all fight each other. That's essentially what God of High School is about.
It's just King of Fighters.
Yeah, but not a lot of people know what King of Fighters is.
They just fight. Lots of fight.
Lots of fighting.
Yeah. Midway through the season, you start questioning, okay, so why do all these people have such overpowered abilities? Where are they getting all this power from? Then they lay out the power levels on you, and then it turns out that
Oh, wait, okay. We don't want to spoil it because that's a big reveal, but it's just not as good as it.
I think, again, it comes down to the pacing. If you were to read it, which I have another issue with as well, but I'll talk about this first. If you were to read the manhwa, at least then you have like a full gradual explanation as to where certain events kick in, as opposed to where certain character developments kick in. In the anime, it's just insanely rushed. It's so fucking rushed. I hated it.
Yeah, and
Sorry, God of High School fans.
You mean Mappa as well?
Well, Mappa's allowed to have one bad show, man.
Okay. I don't think.
Like, if we're gonna be talking about like wonderful studios do great work, I mean, for Cloverworks, right? For every horror Mia, there's also a Promise Neverland season 2.
I thought you liked Promise Neverland season 2.
I dropped it halfway through.
Okay. Anyways, my personal thoughts on God of High School is that it was more disappointing than Will's opinion of it being terrible. I think that the production value is outstanding. I think that the music is really good, even though Will doesn't think it is.
Really? I thought the music was trash.
I thought it was pretty good.
Look, I like electronic music, or like EDM, if people want to call it that. It just didn't hit for me. I think, again, I have my own personal biases. Like,
there's a lot of dubstep in there.
Yeah, like a lot of like electro dub shit, but like it just didn't fit for me. Like for me, like I really liked watching like Megalobox, which is like very rock focused. I really liked watching King of Ashura, which was very heavy metal. So that's what, and watching those shows, it's like you actually get to see like proper form and function when it came to the arts of fighting, right? Martial arts is, very much a sport that I'm very into, and so then to watch it in those formats, King of Ashura as well as Megalobox, I really liked it. Watching it from God of High School, it's really hypocritical, weird for me to say it. It looked really cartoony. I know we're watching a cartoon, but like it just felt like it wasn't.
You're watching an anime, you mean?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to stir that pot. But
okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean,
yeah,
right? Like it just didn't feel like there was much realism in there. Like maybe it's just because like I've trained in martial arts before. Maybe it's because I'm a really big fan of martial arts. But it's the same way that like I liked watching King Arthur, which is about the fighting. It didn't really seem like that was the focus for God of High School, despite the fact that they spend half of the season just fighting each other. It's just me. I think it's just me.
I thought the fighting was okay. I'm not that invested in terms of the knowledge when it comes to martial arts and MMA to know that much, but it looked fine to me. I think my problem with God of High School was the story itself. Will mention the power system, the power leveling that they reveal later on. And I think that concept is a very cool concept. But I do not think that it could be executed in a way that would be would do it justice.
Letdown. It was such a letdown when they talked about it.
Yeah, and it was pretty faithful to the webtoon in terms of the power leveling system. I just feel like there's no way you could show it in a way that would be good, even though I think on paper it's really interesting.
Did you read the webtoon?
Bits and pieces, but like
it looks really weird.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Like, I guess I'm just not a fan of God of High School.
Another thing that looks weird that is basically only exclusive to the anime is the red noses of the characters.
Yeah, everyone's got like Rudolph syndrome in the show.
I like how you... Oh, yeah, okay, you stole my line. Yes, Rudolph syndrome. There's no reason for it. It's not like it's winter, and therefore everyone's nose...
It's not that cold in Korea, okay?
No, it's not even that. It doesn't even take place during the winter time.
It's a summer festival. A summer fight competition.
There's a tournament arc done in the summer. So I don't even understand the red noses. It was a stylistic choice, obviously, that was anime exclusive and not based off the webtoon. But it's just baffling to me because it serves no purpose. It doesn't even look that bad, but it's like, why? I think a lot of people think it looks really bad. I think it looks okay.
When you were talking about the red noses, I was like, is the power system based on the red noses? And I was just like, oh, no, they just have red noses. Okay.
There is another thing that talks about the pacing and the story. There is episode 4, talks about a certain event that I will not spoil. But that one episode talks that event starts at the beginning of episode 4 and ends at the end of episode 4. So it only took one episode. It is baffling to me why they included that from the webtoon.
It was such a jarring transition from the first 3 episodes and then going into the 4th episode.
I know, like, there is a purpose for it, I guess.
The execution was poor.
It's not just that, but you could have bypassed like 80-90% of the events that happened in that episode. Just included that last 5% in any of the other episodes and still be okay.
But I think it just comes down to the constraints they have, right? Like rolling out 100 webtoon episodes into 13 anime episodes. What are you gonna do, right? You have to cram everything in, and some things are just gonna have to get cut out. Like we've seen it before with other anime shows where like they cut out parts of the manga, but at the same time, it's like they don't cut anything too drastic. Yeah, it's not the same, but you're still able to tie it back to the main story. Whereas this one, it just felt like, oh, okay, so everything you read from episode 1 to episode 100, yeah, we'll cover like 20 episodes of it, but like episodes 1 through here through here, and then up to 100. So you're going to be like taking massive leaps from arc to arc, but it's still the same story.
All right, so now that we have completed 2 of the 3 webtoon adaptations currently in contention, we will now talk about the last to complete the trifecta of webtoon Crunchyroll anime originals.
Everything comes in 3s nowadays, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. So Noblesse, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Noblesse, sure, is
vampires.
Is the 3rd and final webtoon adaptation that has been announced and aired. As of right now, there is no other webtoon Crunchyroll adaptation that has been announced yet. So, Will did not watch Noblesse, which I will not say Noblesse, I'll just say Noblesse from now on.
Or Knob.
Sure. I have not read the webtoon, but I have watched, I think as it was airing, I watched the first episode, did not know what the hell was going on, and then was like, this is trash, and dropped it. I then later found out that there was a prequel anime that was done called Noblesse Awakening, and that you need to watch that before you watch what essentially would be the season 1 of the Noblesse anime. So that I put it off watching the prequel because I had no reason to, because I thought the first episode was very mediocre. The story is about vampires that is like takes place in high school. There's action. There's a lot of blood and gore, as you would expect from a show featuring a vampire. And it's about like protecting humans, not protecting humans, people with superhuman strength or vampiric strength and vampiric stuff. Anyways, for this, I was like, okay, you know what? I will, even though I dropped Noblesse the first episode, I will rewatch the first episode. But first, I'll watch the prequel, Awakening, since it's available. I have no idea why the Noblesse Awakening prequel was not the first episode of the anime series. Because I highly doubt the majority of people that watched Noblesse actually watched or knew about the prequel OVA. And having seen the OVA, it makes infinitely more sense as to, in the beginning of episode 1, why characters are the way they are and why certain things are the way they are. Because the prequel explains all of that. Now, does that mean that the anime is good? I think the anime is competent. I think the handling of the source material even though I don't have any basis to say so, is extremely incompetent just based purely of the fact that the Awakening prequel is mandatory to be consumed to even understand why the episode 1 occurred. And it just doesn't it makes zero sense to me why that is not the case.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch that shit. I think, look, like the manhwa is like decently rated. Oh, actually, very like highly rated.
Yeah. So
Us is the Tower of God manhwa. The God of High School one's okay. It holds like a solid 7.5 or 7.6, so it does pretty well. But generally, like the three properties that Crunchyroll chose to adapt from the webtoon catalog, we'd say they were probably like three of the most popular ones, so it made sense for them to get those adapted.
Right, and there was a lot of hype and anticipation for these 3 series to be adapted. And if you were to tell anybody to read webtoons and they would ask you which ones in terms of action, almost like shonen action oriented, I would say these 3 are appropriate choices. There are also other choices, but these 3 are probably the most popular and critically acclaimed too. Which is like really funny to me because despite the fact that these 3 anime adaptations were popular and that a lot of people consumed it, the ratings and the reception, the critical reception for it, is very different than the webtoon reception of it.
It's not the same story. Unfortunately, I think that, like, even if we talk about Tower of God, right? The manhwa is extremely popular. It's probably one of the most like viewed manhwas on the platform, or however else other people will read it. But if you were to look at its MyAnimeList rating and the ranking, it's holding a 7.64, which is decent. Like, it's good. But you wouldn't expect that. You would expect more from one of the most popular properties on the webtoon platform. Popularity rise, it doesn't even crack the top 1,000.
Yeah. So Will has mentioned several times that the pacing is a big issue. I highly agree that pacing is a huge issue for these webtoon anime adaptations. And I think the main reason is because webtoon being a non-traditional anime adaptation source leads me to believe that these adaptations, it takes some skill to know how to adapt it into anime form from webtoon, because it's not that straightforward or not that well established compared to, let's say, like manga or a light novel and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think it's actually a very risky move to pick these properties because they were so popular that, like, you would say, like, okay, keep the training wheels on, you can learn as you go, but like I don't think there's really much room to trial and error like some of the biggest properties on the platform.
Yeah,
which is probably why the rating is so low. Like, it's
right.
Okay, a 7.64 is not terrible. It's actually a pretty good number given the vast amount of properties there are that exist within the anime world. Popularity, okay, fine. I think it's just the fact that it's a manhwa property, and most people don't really know much about Tower of God, but you just hear it,
and there's a pedigree.
Right. So my question here then is, right, like, a lot of criticisms that these shows have is coming down to the pacing of the shows, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This is mostly coming from the manhwa readers, and then the criticisms that come in from the anime viewers is, I'm kind of lost in the story. I don't really know what's going on. So, who do you think this webtoon Crunchyroll partnership is for? Do you think it's for, like, the anime viewers? Do you think it's for the manhwa readers? Or is there some small niche in between that wants to bridge the world? Because that's a very, very small niche.
I think it's just a very simple answer to that, which is
money.
Anime people. The people who watch anime. If there is no anime adaptation of these webtoons for anime people, they will just read the webtoons. I just feel like that's the most straightforward answer that makes the most sense to me. It's just unfortunate that you would choose to adapt a format that has never been adapted before with probably one of the 3 most prolific properties for that format, and expect to come out of the gate swinging all 3 times.
I think on my anime list, so my anime list actually does have rankings for manhwa as well. I think Tower of God is like the second highest ranked show property.
Yeah. So it's just very jarring, I guess, for a lot of people to see the disparity between the quality of the source, the manhwa webtoon, and the quality of the anime. So I mentioned a bunch of properties that were done by webtoons, but there was also other properties that were adapted from a more traditional route. I would say let's start with the banger, the one that I think a lot of people agree to be the strongest property.
X-Arm.
Absolutely is X-Arm. No, it's not. It is called Fly Me to the Moon, or Tonikawa. So Fly Me to the Moon is about, very simply, about a married couple. It's about a high school dropout who was about to take the entrance exam to high school, and it was projected that he would get one of the highest marks that year, and then he got hit by a truck, and it just so happens that this girl saved him.
Wait a minute. So you mean that Truck-kun did not take another life?
Truck-kun did not isekai Nasa-kun, which is the name of...
Legitimately, when you were talking about this, like, okay, here we go, another fucking isekai. And he's like, wait a minute, the boy lives?
Yeah, so the boy and the girl lives. And essentially, the boy was like, I think you're really cute. Will you go out with me? And then the girl says, only if we get married. And then the guy says, okay. And then he passes out from the accident. Fast forward like 3 years, and because of the accident, like he like tried to go back to high school and apply and all that stuff. Like he couldn't find his purpose. Then the day he turned 18, a knock on his 1-bedroom apartment happened, and it is the very same girl, and it is just her saying, yo, you said we're going to get married. Let's get married right now. And it is about the two of them learning about each other and learning about what married couple life is during your late teenage years and beyond. I have to say that this anime and the manga is extremely cute, fluffy, and wholesome, and is just really good.
Would you say that when it comes to the Crunchyroll originals, that Fly Me to the Moon is probably one of the stronger ones?
100%.
Or maybe,
it is
maybe
the
even
strongest. There's no doubt in my mind.
Even higher than Tower of God.
Absolutely. There is no doubt in my mind that this is the best property among the Crunchyroll originals.
It's a shame that that's the highest one, though. I know you like it a lot, but like when it comes to popular opinion, it's just under an 8, which is actually very respectable. Most of the time, whenever I look at my anime list, shows that have like a 7.8 and up, like I think it's worth considering like checking out. But in terms of the other stuff that's on the Crunchyroll original list, unfortunately, it doesn't paint as rosy a picture. Like, we've talked enough already about how trash X-Arm is.
Wait. Will, before we go into the bad stuff, I should talk about Inspector. Because actually, I like Inspector.
Do you have 5 hours?
Okay, so Inspector, very briefly, if I can, I'm trying my very darndest, because we're running short on time. Inspector is a novel adaptation it's an anime adaptation of a novel. And then there's also a manga adaptation of the novel, which I read 9 volumes of. And I watched half of the anime that it was based off of. It is the only show, I want to reiterate, it's the only show that actually got renewed for a second season. Everything else only has 1 season. So I read the manga, and it's essentially about yokai, which is like spirits and monsters. But it is about sleuthing, detective work. Essentially, this girl and this guy are like a duo who just so happens to be like a couple. and all these spirits come up to this girl and asks for help with favors and stuff, because in this world, these ghouls and ghosts and spirits are not very smart. So then they seek her, which they dub her the God of Wisdom. Anyways, I could talk a lot about it, but also talking a lot about stuff. The anime and the manga is the most dialogue heavy I have read and seen in a long ass time.
Do you think that the manga panels, in fact, like the novel itself, is basically the script for the voice actors to work with?
Yeah, I have to say that I looked at 9 volumes of the manga, and
your eyes are bleeding.
There is very little art and a lot of words.
It might as well just be a novel, right?
Yes, the dialogue is good.
This is nothing to detract from the show.
Yeah,
or the
dialogue
manga.
is extremely good because it makes it paints all the adults as very smart, very logical, like Sherlock Holmes, essentially.
So this is like the Holmes and Watson, but anime couple form.
Yes, with some violence and action stuff, which actually it's there, but it's actually very little.
So it's like Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, Holmes and Watson.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. Okay.
That was also very violent too.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie, right?
Yeah.
Who directed that. Okay. Yeah, I don't like that film too much. Anyways, the anime is also not very well received. Not terrible, but I suspect the reason why is because it is extremely dialogue heavy, and therefore people were expecting a lot of action oriented, but then just got hit with a bunch of people talking. Granted, I still like it a lot, but I can see why people don't like it.
I don't think I'm going to get around to reading or watching it anytime soon, just because I don't mind things being dialogue heavy. It's just that it's always the when am I going to watch this shit syndrome, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I have that all the time too.
Right? Like, it's like, okay, I can totally read this whenever I want to. I can totally crack open Crunchyroll and watch that, but I don't know.
All right, so one other show that I'll talk about before we talk about the shit shows, unfortunately, is So I'm a Spider, So What? I talked about it a while ago. It's the spider isekai.
Fuck spiders.
Yeah. What was it? Arachnophobia, right? You have?
Yes.
I lived in Australia, so I have no problems with spiders.
I lived in California, which is like 1/10 of what spiders, no, maybe like 1/20th of what Australia has, and I couldn't handle it.
I mean, when I had to buy like a venom kit for like part of my first aid kit at home in Australia, that just tells you like how prolific these, or how common.
It's like if you live anywhere, it's like, do you think you need to pick up spider insurance? What were you talking about? Like, I'm pretty sure spider insurance is a thing in Australia.
I don't. There's no such thing as spider insurance. There is poison though.
Okay, there you go.
Because snakes, right?
Everything is poisonous in Australia.
Everything can kill you. Anyways,
is it like out of the 10 most poisonous animals in the world, like 7 or 8 of them live in Australia?
Yes, and I have seen one of them with my eyes, and it's not at a zoo.
Fuck, okay.
Yep. Anyway, so basically, the spider isekai, I've mentioned it before. It is a pretty interesting take on isekai. You should watch it. It is airing this season. It's about to end soon, just with the rest of the seasonal shows. There's really nothing else we can... I feel like I need to talk about it that I have not already mentioned in a previous episode, or... Yeah. So let's talk about the shit shows. X-Arm? Fuck X-Arm.
Garbage.
Okay. Gibiate. Well,
garbage.
Gibiate, what is it about?
It is a hot plate of garbage.
It's about samurais who show up in modern day.
What's really fucking funny though is that like they show like modern, like they show parts of Japan, and then all of a sudden like it's 2 main characters on a fucking little canoe, like just sailing through the waters, and Jason's like, they're gonna fucking time travel, aren't they?
And then, literally within the
lightning strikes, a sheen of light just shines right.
And then a whirlpool, and then
yeah, and then they get transported from the Edo period all the way to modern Tokyo, post-apocalyptic Tokyo,
because a disease has rampaged the world, which started in Venice,
and then it started like transmuting, and then causing people to transform and die
and kill each other.
Yeah.
And it's about this girl and these two samurais who's like time traveled to here for no apparent reason, and this girl who is like a high school dropout because the world has ended, and she is determined to find a cure despite the fact that she has zero evidence of any sort of qualifications or knowledge.
Oh, but power and friendship, right?
Oh, it's such
with great determination, you will find the answers you seek.
It's such a shit show.
It's also hilarious that we're talking about a show where like it's about a virus that wipes out humanity, and you need to find a cure. Right when in the middle, he gets dropped right in the middle of fucking COVID.
Yeah, but at least there wasn't any time traveling samurai that we know of.
We know of yet.
That we have know yet.
Yes. I'm sure there's somewhere out here.
Then that goes into the last mediocre / terrible anime called Dr. Ramune, which is airing this season as well.
I mean, in 3 words, can you say as few words as possible, how bad is it? Or how bland is it? Because I think, like, looking at the poster for it, it looks kind of meh. There are no ratings for the manga or the novel it's derived from.
It's based off of a manga. So Dr. Ramune is essentially a doctor that deals with mysterious diseases, such as a girl in the very first episode and in the very first chapter bleeding. Her tears are condiments. Like she cries ketchup. She cries like mayonnaise.
Okay, so you know what Ramune is, right?
Yes, I know.
So literally, it's just about like sweets and sugars and all that.
The second episode and the second chapter is about the fish cake, the tong.
Yeah.
The guy has a penis that is that instead of his penis. And then the third episode is about a guy with chili fingernails.
I don't feel so bad about reading Domestic Girlfriend anymore.
Yeah,
now.
it's. I read the first volume of the manga. It was the most. I couldn't. I was like trying so hard to finish it, and it was just terrible.
Yeah, just in case you don't know what we were talking about just now. So Ramune is like a kind of soda that you get in Japan. It's those glass bottles
with a marble.
Yeah, and you have a little plastic push button where you pop the bottle, the marble in. I think Ramune soda is okay. I think most people buy it just because the whole spectacle of popping and exploding a bottle of soda.
I love the flavor.
Do you ever like try and crack it open, or like you find the ones where like you can actually screw the top off and actually keep the marble?
Nope.
I've kept the marbles. I have a weird.
Well, I lost my marbles watching and reading this show.
Okay. Fuck. Okay. I can describe Ramune in 3 words.
Yeah.
Ramune is boring.
Yes. Dr. Ramune is boring.
No, it doesn't even deserve to be called doctor.
So
where are his credentials? Where is his practice?
In a temple.
Still okay, so he's a holistic doctor.
Yeah, the show has no soul.
It's just not worth watching.
It tries to be humorous because crying condiment sounds comical, but then it talks about like neglect, abandonment, and abuse within the same episode, and it resolves itself like it just doesn't make sense because on one hand it tries to be funny, and on the other hand it talks about all this heavy stuff and expects you to think that it is a good show. And it's episodic, so all the characters don't grow because it's just a new case, it's just a new thing. There's nothing.
It's just a very aloof slapstick kind of thing, huh? Not even slapstick. It's just weird.
It's just nothing.
Right.
Okay, so I think that concludes all the Crunchyroll originals. Originally, we were going to talk about one more thing, which is what we would have done with the webtoon stuff, and I read a lot of webtoons, but I don't think we have enough time for that yet.
No, I mean, I could just say it from my perspective, which is a lot of the webtoons that I've been reading are mostly horror-based, and as we've seen, I think that like horror is a very hard thing to portray in media. Like, it can be either done really, really well, but of course in like finite volumes, like there's not that many good horror movies, comic books, anime, so it's kind of hard. Not to mention that the ones I was thinking about, like Bastard, Sweet Home already has a live action adaptation, which is on Netflix. And Bastard is like from the same guy, but like written a little bit before. So I feel like it's been like too long to get that adapted. One that I do think should get adapted though would be Omniscient Reader.
Yeah, Omniscient Reader, I would say, is the fourth big tentpole action-oriented property.
And it's very, very new. It only came out like a couple months ago.
Exactly, and it's apparently very good. So if I had to quickly talk about the Webtoon stuff, adapting probably one of the three most popular series on Webtoon platform, which is Noblesse, God of High School, and Tower of God, I would not do that right away. Or I might do one per year among all the other stuff.
Yeah, but to roll them out like season after season after season,
and all in one go.
not to mention like the rankings for each one was dropping.
Yeah, exactly. And also that doesn't include Fly Me to the Moon. That doesn't include Inspector. That doesn't include Dr. Ramune. That all aired basically within a span of less than 24 months. So
Actually, no. Like in the beginning of January 2020, all the way till now, they released 11 originals.
that's correct. That's just overkill. I mean,
It's almost one a month.
I mean, I take things too far, but that doesn't mean it's good. Crunchyroll takes things too far doesn't mean it's good either.
Actually, shit, no. Like in the last 6 months, it was okay. In October, they had Fly Me to the Moon, Noblesse, and then they had the Spider Isekai, Ramune, and X-Arm in 2001 January. Wow, 3 days apart, they had Ramune, X-Arm, and Spider Isekai.
Yep. So yeah, it's a mess, really.
But one question I do want to ask though, before we close this episode off, is given the state of the Crunchyroll originals, right? Like some of them very decent, right? Like Tower of God, Fly Me to the Moon. In some ways, got a high school, and then there are some which are just why do these exist? Like Giabate, like X-Arm. Like where does the Crunchyroll originals go to now? Because if you talked about like what Netflix is doing, right? They've got some really good stuff on there. They've got like Beastars, BNA, they've got Dora Hedgehog, Violet Evergarden, some really Kakegurui as well, very popular shows. And then they did like another announcement last year where they're rolling in like a bunch of new studios that are working in collaboration over the next 3 years to roll out more Netflix exclusive properties. My thinking is that like the approach that Netflix and Crunchyroll have towards originals is that Netflix is very much about production, right? They're releasing a lot of live action movies on the platform exclusively. They're releasing a lot of TV shows exclusively. For them, it's like the way that they keep themselves about the competition is that if you want to view these properties, you have to use our platform. Crunchyroll, on the other hand, it seems like for them, because they have such a vast library, which is not exclusive to Crunchyroll, you can watch it on local TV, you can watch it on a different streaming service. I think like pushing the whole originals thing, it might not be as crazy a focus. Who knows? With this partnership with Webtoon, with this merger with Funimation and the Sony mergers and all that, things could be different for Crunchyroll, but like we've already discussed, there's a lot of administrative work, a lot of back office work you need to get through first before you can actually start seeing things as a fan, as a subscriber to these platforms. So who knows? Maybe the next year or two, we might start seeing some real crazy shit coming in from the Funimation Crunchyroll merger. Maybe there'll be some real like kick-ass Webtoon animations as well. Who knows?
Who knows? So I think that concludes. I think that was a very good summation in terms of an outlook as well of the Crunchyroll originals.
I'm more hopeful than fearful at this moment. Like there are, of course, like maybe some bad implications that come in from like the Funimation Crunchyroll merger, like animation studios getting shafted in terms of having negotiation deals. Maybe like market being cornered means that as the user, we have not that many more avenues to pick our shit from. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that there's good things to come.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful too. I always try my very best to see the good in certain things rather than be cynical and pessimistic like I usually do. So,
I mean, half glass full, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, glass full, glass empty. It's only your perspective, right?
I have no glass.
Yeah, there. Okay.
I mean,
then it's just water.
I mean, no,
it's just spilled on the ground.
There's nothing.
There's just nothing. I am nothing. I'm a hollow husk.
Dude, if for me, like, my fluffy stuff is reading fucking Domestic Girlfriend.
I don't know what the fuck you're doing with your life, man.
Yeah. There's other stuff that I do want to talk about, but we'll have to save it for the next episode.
Okay, so just a little bit of housekeeping. You could always reach us through our email at gapalette@gmail.com. That is GAPALETTE@gmail.com. You can reach us at Twitter through @PaletteGood. We have a Facebook page, www.facebook.com/PaletteGood. We have a website that you can visit, www.goodanimepalette.com. And you should join us on Discord. So the links and everything will be in the show description, or you can visit our website for all the details. Our intro music is Green Lights by Jahzzar from the album Tumbling Dishes Like Old Man Wishes. Our break music is Min 2019 by minwbu. Our outro music is What You Thinking, the instrumental version by Wataboy. You could find our intro music from the Free Music Archive, and you can find our break and outro music from pixabay.com. All right, so Will, any closing thoughts for the episode? Anything you want to say? Any parting words before we leave the listeners until we meet up again for another anime podcast recording?
I'm just gonna say, with the whole COVID thing still raging, hopefully everyone just stays safe. But stay active as well, right? Stay active. Read lots of manga, read lots of light novels, watch a lot of anime. And now, after we talked about it as well, now you can also download the Webtoon app and pick up some manhwas to read. There's a lot of things you can do now that you're stuck indoors. So why not just enjoy some good old manga, some manhwa, some anime? God forbid you turn on the computer and play visual novels.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Just stick to all the other stuff that we said. Or if you want to check out some of the anime originals that we mentioned and think that we're wrong or we're right, just let us know as well. So I think that's it for this episode.
Yep, we're going to take a nice little break, and then we'll come back to you with the next episode. So stay hydrated, stay safe, and yeah. Don't fuck light novels.
Jesus Christ. Don't just... Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, okay. Stop.
Actually, no. Imagine the next time we come in and I was like, hey, guess what I was reading? So I was reading
no.
this light novel.
Oh, God.
Which is like five sentences long.
Hey, I played the visual novel
Higurashi
for like 200 hours. It was great.
Wait, no. So you know how like one of my most favorite anime is Steins Gate? So I played the visual novel because they have a new one coming up in a couple months.
Okay, we gotta stop.
All right, stay safe, everybody.
Okay, see ya.